And speak recording in progress. And Dave just got here. So it isn't just. Yeah.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. On this beautiful rainy fall day. It's not snow, right, Katie? I always love your positive twist on things. It helps the day go a little faster when we are positive. David Jones, are you lip syncing?
Maybe no.
Talking to yourself, okay. All right, this morning's theme is resiliency. And our inspiration is from Thomas Heldwine, if you are out there. Okay. I have some advice from a pumpkin. Be well-rounded, get plenty of sunshine, give thanks for life's bounty, have a thick skin, keep growing, be outstanding in your field, and think big. These are ways of being resilient as well. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I was wrong. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Where is everybody? Good question. In the room, we have Lynn Thornton, Mike Florio, myself, Nancy, Mary Cavanero, Kate Orr, Jackie Kenny, Beth Banks, Dave Licata. Did anybody else sneak in? Okay. And in Zoom world, we have Margot, Mark Campos, Anne Marie, David Jones, Bill Russell, Mike Licata, Tracy Farrell, Marty Johnston, Eric Schneider. Did I miss anyone? In Zoom world? Okay. Okay, welcome everyone. Our role holders, we have Lynn Thornton on our audio visual, and is someone else doing Zoom or are you doing Zoom as well? Mark Campos, thank you so much for doing Zoom. Our WAG master, who is Mark Campos as well. Would you please tell us what your role is?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Good morning. My job as WAG Master is multifaceted. I will be listening for ahs and ums and pregnant pauses, all those filler words. I will be listening for proper use and poor abuse of the English language as grammarian. And as WAG Master, I'm going to take the easy way out today. Normally, I would try to pick a word that ties in with the meeting theme, but since the meeting theme is a word, it makes it rather convenient. Now, I did look at possibly going with synonyms, but most of the synonyms of resilience apply to one of the definitions only. So we're going with resilience today as the word. As a noun, it means the power or ability of a material to return to its original form, position, etc., after being bent, compressed, or stretched, or the ability of a person to adjust to or recover readily from illness, adversity, or major life changes. I'll put it in the chat in Zoom. So the word today is resilience. Please be sure to use it. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. And Joe, don't sit and get too comfortable yet, because I'm going to invite you up to tell us what you do as general evaluator today.
So as general evaluator, I will be evaluating the evaluators and the general tone of the meeting. And I wish all of our speakers all the best of luck in the world, and let's show some resiliency today. Thank you.
Bill Russell, I know that you have a quote for us today. You're muted. Unmute.
Oh, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. This quotes go along with the theme, resilience. This is I gave you one once before, but I'm going to give you all 7 because of the theme for today. It's by Dr. Kevin Elko. It's tips to stay out of the duck pond at work and at home. Number 1 that you've heard, take responsibility. It is the ultimate way to disarm anger and regain power and control of the situation. 2, live internally. Only you can control your actions and feelings. 3, identify your 68. Find out what makes you tick and stay focused on it. Give away your 68. Once you know what you want, give it to others to receive even more. Think about what you think about. You need to practice and program yourself. Number 6, self-talk. When in a moment of truth, step back and reaffirm and coach yourself through. Number 7, practice. Keep going back to number 1 until you are a better you and develop nerves of steel. And go back to number 1, take responsibility. It is the ultimate way to disarm anger and regain power and control of the situation. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Phil. Lots of good wisdom in those quotes, in that quote. Mike Florio, he's going to make us laugh this morning. He's going to try.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. I kind of like the definition. It's pretty funny. Bent, compressed, and stretched. I think a lot of times we all kind of feel that way, and you've got to be resilient, right? So resilience is like a DIY project. Sometimes you have to hit your thumb with the hammer a few times just before you get it right. Resilience is like a maze. Sometimes you have to take a few wrong turns to find the right path. Madam Toastmaster.
More good wisdom and a little bit of humor. And Tracy, you're out in Zoom land. Will you please tell us what your role is as timer today? You're muted. Okay. Just checking. Move on. I will do that. Dave Licata, you are our quiz master today. Will you please share with us what you will be listening for? Dave Licata.
Okay, folks. There are service clubs, there's fraternities, there's sororities. We're an educational club. So there's going to be a quiz at the end. And what I'm going to do is come up with some questions that are pertinent to the words spoken to make sure you learn something, Madam Toastmaster.
I hope we learn something every time we walk in the doors or turn on our computers, especially for Toastmasters. Okay, and Tracy, are you back
Sorry,
with us?
I am sorry, Madam Toastmaster. As Toastmasters, we are all resilient to stay within our time. So it's going to be my job to rein you in. Table topics is 1 minute, you'll get the green. And because I am so into technology, here is your green. Yellow, 1.5, yellow. And 2 minutes is red for table topics. Our speeches are generally 5 to 7 minutes. So at 5 will be green, 6 will be yellow, and 7 will be red. And then we have evaluators, usually 2 to 3 minutes. And I will be reporting back after each section.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Okay, and we have a few changes in the calendar here. Marty, you will be evaluating Beth Banks. Nope, that's the evaluator. You will be evaluating, sorry, Kate, if that's okay. Marty, are you there?
Yes, I can evaluate Kate.
Okay, just wanted to acknowledge that you heard me. And Margot Sue will be evaluated by Beth Banks. Okay, and I'm sorry, Sylvia was unable to attend. Hello, Nancy Rose has joined us. Now we're surrounded by Nancys. One in the front and one in the back. Anne Marie, are you ready to ask our members or visitors to participate in table topics?
Yes, good morning, Nancy.
Good morning.
I was so delighted by the agenda because resilience and resiliency is my most favorite concept ever. I think it's really so very important in all of our lives. So I have a number of questions. First, I have a general question, then a storytelling question, and then one about resiliency in kids. So when I think of resiliency, I think of two images. Because as everybody has already said, resiliency is coming back or bouncing back from a difficult adversarial condition. The first one is a bouncing ball. So if I take a ball and I take my arm and stretch it as hard back as I possibly can and hit it against the opposite wall, comes right back and hits me in the chest. So if I throw it, it hits me right in the chest. It's the elasticity to bounce back from a very difficult situation. The second thing I think of with resiliency is protection. And when I meet or interact with a resilient person, it's like they have a coat of armor on, and you can't hurt them, you can't harm them. They're coming back. So Michael Licata, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. Could you tell me whether you think you're a resilient person or not? And if not, if you know of somebody that you feel has this wonderful quality of resiliency, and what are some of their basic characteristics or behaviors? And please use the word resilience. Michael Licata.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Thank you, Dr. Lenhart, for this opportunity to speak this morning. I'd like to think I'm a resilient person. That's basically been tested in the last 2 months, essentially, as I basically shattered my ankle and 6 weeks passed. 6 weeks since the injury and since the surgery, I got to go back to the orthopedic surgeon whom I met yesterday. And he basically informed me that congratulations, you made it 6 weeks. You have your nice walking boot, and good luck, because we'll see you in 6 weeks, but you can do everything you used to be able to do. My resolve and my resiliency was tested because I just looked at him and went, okay, thanks. And My next question, my follow-up question to the orthopedic surgeon was, well, does that involve trying to figure out physical therapy so we could actually do this right? He said, no. See you in 6 weeks when you get the walking boot off, and maybe after then you'll get physical therapy. And again, my resiliency was tested because I just looked at him and said, okay, so I'm supposed to just teach myself how to walk again and I can do it. So this becomes a journey for me to this new experience of good luck, you can restart everything you started before the injury. Instead, now it is you're going to have to teach yourself how to do it. But in a fortune of good luck, we have some leftover medical equipment here. So I've actually started yesterday, and it's going to be this new journey of trying to teach myself how to walk again as I try to rebuild my ankle. And I hope that life gets a little bit easier for me every day, but I still know that it is going to be an uphill battle as I go towards rejoining and getting 100% back of what I lost when I injured my ankle. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Michael. Boy, that was really excellent. And it sounds like you are a very resilient person. So good luck with your journey. I'm going to tell you a little fable, a very short story that is related to the topic. And it's about a farmer and a donkey. There was a farmer, and he was very proud to have a wonderful donkey. And they were walking on the farm one day, and the donkey fell into a deep well. And the farmer said, oh my goodness, what can I do? How terrible. And the donkey was crying and screaming in horror. And the farmer didn't know what to do. So he said, well, he's an old animal, so maybe we should just forget about it and try to get him out of his agony and bury him. So he asked his fellow neighbors to grab a shovel, and they started shoveling dirt into the well. And the donkey was still screaming, but all of a sudden he was very quiet. And they noticed amazingly that every time someone shoveled some dirt into the well, the donkey shook it off and jumped up. So every time they put another shovel of dirt in, he shook it off and stepped up, shook it off and stepped up. And finally, he got to the top of the well. He climbed out and had his freedom. Incredible donkey. Still living today, even though he is up in age. So, David Jones, are you there?
Yes.
Yes. Could you just relate how this story could be related to the concept of resiliency? David Jones.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. My first question, especially as a parent, is how did that donkey get in the well? They must have been messing around. They fell in there. They're doing something they shouldn't have done. But unfortunately, that I know is a negative outlook. You should be concerned about the donkey or the person that fell into the well. But I think human nature is, how the heck did you get in there, and stop messing around and causing all these problems for us? And it sounds like the town doesn't have the use of a well anymore because it's full of dirt. So their resiliency would have to be to go back in and dig all that dirt out in order to use the well because of this silly donkey who's still running around today. But as far as how that goes in life, I remember once with my ex-wife and kid, I was holding my daughter. I don't know, we were at a park or something, and I accidentally bumped her head into like a post or something. She started crying. She's like 2 years old, and my wife started yelling at me, and she wasn't concerned about the kid, that's kind of where it just came from. She was concerned with what I had done with the kid and was yelling at me instead of tending to our daughter. And eventually that led to divorce because that was almost every day for 25 years. But resiliency for me was writing my book about divorce and learning to do something different in life, different than just sitting on the couch, because that was the whole concept of my book. Was for 4 years after my separation divorce, I sat on the sofa for 4 years doing absolutely nothing except for being content as a single guy. But my resilience is to share my story with others, help others, and I don't see the timer, so I'm just going to go ahead and stop talking now, Madam Table Topics Master.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing. I didn't know you wrote a book. I'll have to check into that. That's great. All right. So the third question has to do with resiliency in children. So Jackie Kenny, are you there?
She's coming.
Okay.
Welcome, Jackie.
All right. I know you're in the field of mental health and education, so I thought this would be a good question for you. So the $64,000 question is, how do we build resiliency in children? So a famous psychologist, Paul Patterson, created a list of 7 C's of resiliency in kids: competence, confidence, connection, character, contribution, coping, and control. So very important for us to help kids learn how to bounce back from adversarial conditions. How can we build resiliency in kids? Jackie Kenny.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. That's really an excellent, thought-provoking question. I think probably one of the most important ways is to let them learn from their mistakes or their trials and not soften life too much for them. I see a lot of that today. People cushioning everything that goes on in a child's life so they never have to struggle with anything. Not that you want to set the bar too high, but they need to work at things. And I don't know, I think I have pretty resilient kids. They've gone through some things and managed to come out on the other side stronger people. They are all actual adults now. And I'm very proud of that because they are adults. They function as adults. Maybe because I was such a mean mother and I didn't hover around them. I was not a helicopter parent by any way, shape, or form. I remember when my son got a bicycle for Christmas, watching him out the window as he tried to stay upright and keep going. He was very resilient. He fell into the shrubbery a number of times. He tipped over, but he kept getting back on the bike. And I just watched quietly and didn't run out and pick him up. I let him make his own mistakes. So he just got his black belt in jujitsu the other day. He's accomplishing things. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Jackie Kenny. That was inspirational. Thank you so much. Nancy?
Thank you so much for your great insightful questions and bringing out the wisdom and insight of others here. Please first of all, we need to have a timers report. Tracy, I love the yellow. That's fun. Shows
Thank you.
immediacy.
Thank you, Nancy. All of our table topics people did qualify. Mike was at 2. Dave, even though you couldn't see me, it was at 1.51. And Jackie, you were at 2.02. They all qualified.
Okay. And Mark, would you please tell us if everyone used the word of the day?
Madam Toastmaster, I am happy to report that all 3 contestants did use the word today. As an aside, when you pick a softball word, as I have done today, it'll make your head spin in terms of trying to keep track of it. Anne Marie, I had you with a whopping 12 times, and I'm sure I stopped counting. So there you have it, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much for your diligence in listening for the word of the day. Resiliency or resilience. Was it resiliency or resilience? Both.
We'll accept all versions of the word.
Okay. Okay. Please take your ballots. If you're in person, they look like this. If you are on Zoom, they will pop up and please select. They were all such good contestants. It will be hard to do that, but select your choice of contestants. Anne Marie mentioned resilience as a ball. Resiliency can look a lot of different ways. Now, a slinky can stretch, be very resilient, but don't get one of these things twisted, or it will never be resilient again. Some of us can be very resilient under certain circumstances, but when we get ourselves twisted, maybe not so resilient. Rubber bands. I call them elastics. I'm from Connecticut. I'm getting practice up here. Every time I say an elastic, they say, what? So but rubber bands can be very resilient under pressure. Are you the kind of person that is resilient only under pressure? Or can you be resilient anytime? Like when the boss says, okay, you have to do this. We can be resilient, but on our own, can we just be resilient by ourselves? My favorite. Silly putty. I worked at the Silly Putty Factory. I think I did a speech on that way, way, way back. It was in my hometown in North Branford, Connecticut. The guy who invented Silly Putty was a Yalie. No, I'm sorry. He invented the stuff. He was a physicist, I think, and they were trying to make something that wouldn't freeze or melt in space as insulation. This did not work, but it was a good start. So in his disappointment, he went to a party and with a bunch of guys, not necessarily Yaleys, just a bunch of guys and hanging out in somebody's apartment. And they were throwing this stuff around, bouncing it from person to person. And he's, was complaining about being a flop and he couldn't do anything in life. And here he was. Well, some other guy who was very resilient with a high school education said, can I have some of that? And he played with it for a while and he asked for, he got the recipe from him, had it put on a patent on it. And we know what happened from there. He made a whole lot more money than the guy from Yale, who was a physicist that studied many, many hours. But I'm sure he put a lot into Silly Putty. Silly Putty can stretch, can be resilient, but it can't go back. And if you pull it too hard, what happens? It snaps. So sometimes we have different kinds of resiliency in our lives. Some do us service and other ones can be not so helpful in our lives. Think about what kind of resilient person you are. We have switched around the speakers just a little bit and the evaluators. So Marty, are you ready to tell us a little bit about Kate Orr's speech? She will be speaking first and you will be our first evaluator.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster Nancy. As evaluator for Kate, I can inform you that she's working out of the innovative planning path. It's a question and answer session. The timing is 15 to 20 minutes. Kate, if you could please let me know when you would like the lights.
And do you need anything set up or are you okay?
All right. Tracy also needs to know this. I put it very late last night into our agenda, so maybe a few of you saw it. I've tried to keep this simple, Madam Timer and fellow Toastmasters. The presentation portion will be 12, 13, 14, 12 green, 13 yellow, 14 red, if you don't mind, followed by a Q&A 2, 3, 4. So 12, 13, 14, 2, 3, 4, 2 green, 3 yellow, 4 red. I hope that makes sense, Marty. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. And the purpose of Kate's speech project in this innovative planning level 4 elective question and answer is for her to learn about practicing and facilitating a question and answer session. She will practice delivering an informative speech and running a well-organized question and answer session. She will be managing time so there is adequate opportunity for both the question and answer session. Madam Toastmaster, back to you.
For me, since I'm already here. And the title is called Hands Only CPR. Hands Only CPR is the title. And that is because CPR has changed a lot. Who's heard of CPR? You've heard of it at least, right? Who has ever done a training, a CPR training? Raise your hand. Great. That's about, over half of you. Fantastic. It took forever, right? 3 hours, 6 hours. Maybe you got certified, depends on what it was. Well, what happened last January on live television for the first time ever? Damar Hamlin, Buffalo Bills player, was given CPR on live television. Now, that caused a lot of folks to be more aware of the situation of getting CPR. He's doing better now, on track. What happened was the NFL, the American Heart Association, and the Red Cross partnered together to increase awareness about CPR because of the rise in demand and interest in CPR training. Now, back in March, I became a CPR hands-only trainer. Any of you can do that also. This is going to be a quick taste of it, but I haven't done it since April because I had a crazy year. I haven't given any presentations. I haven't done this. And I had a speech this morning and I thought, let's try again. So you're getting to be in this presentation taking a class with me, which typically would be a half an hour. So this is condensed. You're not getting the 2-minute YouTube video. We're not all able to participate hands-on because of our Zoom constraints. But even if you're in Zoom land and aren't able to use the tool that I have, it's a little ambulance. Everyone in the room now has a little hands-on only practice tool, this ambulance. The rest of you at home are still going to gain great benefit from right now and what we're going to try. You're going to stay seated for now, but in a moment, about 5 minutes or so, we're going to get up and actually practice on this foam Red Cross ambulance, because this is not a full body dummy. Do you remember using those bodies or half bodies in your CPR classes ever? This is the same foam density as the human body on average. So we're using this. If you don't have one of these to practice, a rolled up yoga mat works about the same, but we'll do a quick demo. And part of what you need to know are just the 3 C's. And things have changed. The science has changed. CPR is cardiopulmonary resuscitation. It's resuscitating the heart and lungs, and there's huge need for it. Top killer in the United States by far is cardiovascular disease, heart disease. 1 in 5 deaths in America is related to this. And anything we can do to help those around us is something helpful. I've had folks take this class who say, but I have injured shoulders, or I'm 85 and I can't do this. But guess what? You can still be a part of helping save lives. And we'll go through it right now and how you can do that. There are fears. A lot of people won't give CPR. If you see someone on the street or somebody, you may not want to give CPR because of fears of mouth or face-to-face contact, mouth and face-to-face contact during times of COVID, or fentanyl drug exposure. First responders have been injured by giving CPR unprotected to someone overdosing and be exposed to fentanyl, or even just that the Good Samaritan rules and laws don't always hold true. I'm not touching that person, they'll sue me. if I break their ribs or touch them inappropriately. What this does, hands only, eliminates a lot of the fears of that. And it's getting away from any mouth or face contact. Compression only, hands only. The science shows that you can save lives by taking the place of the heart and pushing and compressing. The 3 C's. The first C is check. You're going to check a person. Guess what? The statistics say 4 out of 5 the 4 out of 5 likelihood you're going to know the person who you need to give CPR to. 4 out of 5. So it's someone you know, a coworker, a family member, a friend, someone at church, someone at school, someone you know. So number 1, check them. Are they breathing? Ask, are they okay? Check the scene. If it's a scene and it's someone laying down on the ground, well, is it your neighbor and there's a ladder? Did they fall? Are they exposed to open wires? You don't want to put yourself in a situation that's unsafe. So check the person, check the safety of the scene. 2, call. What are you going to call? Not Ghostbusters, not this time of year. 911. And if you're unable to do anything physically, can you still call 911 or direct someone to call 911? Immediately. Check 1. 2, call 911. Now, we all live in rural areas. Not sure about you, David Jones, but how quick will an ambulance get to most of us? 2 minutes? Highly unlikely. 20 minutes is more likely, as said in the room here. So for 20 minutes, you're taking the place of someone's heart. By doing that, you are becoming their heart, and you are pressing their blood, which carries our oxygen, all throughout their body. They're passed out, and you're taking the place of their heart and just pumping and pumping and pumping until first responders can get there. Any first responders. Maybe a fireman will get there first, or a police officer when the 911 call comes. They might have an AED unit, so they might be able to jump right in. But I'm getting ahead of myself. 1, check. 2, call 911. 3, compress. You begin compressions. Now, those of you at home are going to have an interesting show if you watch us in the room here. I would love everyone in the room to stand up because we're going to actually do compressions. It is not easy, and I thought I could do this. Yeah, this will be good enough. It's not quite appropriate. Now, the person who you're giving CPR to is probably not laying on a table. They're probably on a floor, and you need to get them flat on a hard space. So if they're on a bed, it's too soft. You're going to push them, but the heart's not being pressed. They need to be moved in a flat space. So by now, has 911 already been called? Yes, you call 911 first if you're the only one there, or direct someone else to call 911 immediately and stay on the line. Keep the phone open, even on speakerphone, because the dispatchers are trained to talk you through it and help you and be there with you the entire time. So leave your phone open. Remember these tips. These will save lives. Maybe someone in this room or someone who you care for. Okay, so this is the density of the average human body, and you're going to position yourself over it. You might say, well, how is this foam ambulance helping a person? I want you to project that a person's body is there, and you need to know how to hold your hands and where to put your hands, okay? So the first is, doesn't matter if it's left over right or right over left, but you're using both of your hands and you're compressing down firmly and straight. And where do you go? Think of the red cross on the body. You're going to go right where the armpits are and centered. So think of the red cross and you're going right there, right where the ribs are. You might feel ribs. You might break ribs. That's okay. I wondered about the demonstration of this. You think, oh, it's going to be off camera, but we can make it work. Oh, Len is such a good Zoom end techie. He's going to assist our Zoom folks at home seeing this a little bit better. So where are you targeting? For the center of the chest, right where the ribs are. And I've been told by medics, doctors, paramedics, you might break ribs. Don't worry. Folks would rather have broken ribs. Broken ribs can be healed. That happens apparently all the time. I had no idea. You're going to push hard, and this is exhausting. You have to do 100 pushes a minute because you're taking the place of that's how many beats per minute your heart is, 100. Okay, so you're positioning yourself, and you're not doing floppy elbows, and you're not being weak. But if you get too tired, you sit down. The paramedics don't want to treat two people when they arrive. So that is definitely not something that you want to see happening. All right, so you did the, okay, this might work. Yeah, perfect. So chances are you're on your knees. Chances are you're on your knees on the ground. I should have used the headset, didn't think this through very well. So you all can give me advice for when I'm doing this again in public. Okay, so you are down facing somebody, and we're going to do this at the rate of, does anyone remember the song? Staying alive. Staying alive. So you're going to literally do what I'm doing, and you're staying alive, and you are pushing hard and fast. Oh, I have a mic support too. So you're pushing hard and fast, faster than you might think and firmer than you might think. If you're not pushing this little foam ambulance all the way to the table, you're not pushing it hard enough. You won't break the tables. They're good tables. So it's staying alive, dun, 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 staying alive. Now, that's tiring, isn't it? You only did like 20. If I were really doing this training, I would set the timer for 1 minute, just 1 minute, and maybe 2 minutes, depending on the group. Okay, I'm going to stop that. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. I think we can probably stop with that demo. Who got tired? Just in like a minute, like half of us. Whew, that's tiring. So staying alive. One medic who did this training with me has a dark sense of humor. If you have a dark sense of humor, another one bites the dust, another one bites the dust. And I thought, well, okay, that sounds about right. His name is Julian. He's very good. Have a seat if you'd like to sit back down. If you want to keep practicing, go right ahead because you'd be more prepared. So we do these hands-only CPR trainings in a lot of places, even right here at the YMCA. It's often tied in with blood drives. And it's something that we just are trying to educate more folks on. What has changed over the last 10 years? That if there's a cardiac incident in a hospital or somewhere where there are medical personnel, of course they're going to do the CPR that is the traditional with the breaths. That is challenging too. One of the limitations is counting and how many breaths and how forceful do you breathe, and forget about it. I'm just going to call the first responders. You're taking the place of someone's heart, and you could help save their lives. So it's something that it's changing a lot and quickly, the science and the health, but the information getting out to those who need it isn't always as fast to catch up with what is now been found. In some ways, the Damar Hamlin situation was a silver lining, because since 1950, the cardiovascular disease or heart disease has been the top killer in this country since 1950. And of course, we try to change a lot of the other factors that lead to that. Diseases, diabetes, obesity, smoking, a lot of those things are lessening. But right when you are dealing with a situation, well, you should have lost weight. Well, you should have this. No, we're going to respond. We're going to save as many people as we can. So what are those 3 C's again? Remember, 1, check. Check the person, check the surroundings. Is it safe? 2, call 911. 3, compress and compressions. So many compressions. And basically don't get exhausted. Again, it's better if you don't. If you ever have seen in movies or in real life, a lot of times 2 EMTs or first responders will be taking turns and shifts. And you're on, if you picture a person laying on the ground, one person is kneeling on one side of them and one person is kneeling on the other side of them, so that there can be no break between compressions when someone gets tired. And we're talking about some physically fit EMTs getting tired before they can bring further assistance, or they need to do it right there. I think that is enough for our presentation portion. I see by the timer we're on the green flag. So now we can start. We'll stop the speaking presentation and roll into the Q&A if you have any questions. And we'll do that for just a couple of minutes. Any questions? I know we did that at fire speed and it's a lot shorter than the traditional session, but I think that information, just the check, call 911 and compress could help in serious situations. Okay, any questions? Mary, you have a question? Awesome. Mary just asked for anyone on Zoom, what about AED? AED units, the automated external defibrillator, it's hard to say, units are more and more out there. They're here at the Y. Do you know where it is? I don't know where it is either. We should start looking around. You'll start paying attention. Len knows. Len says it's right down the hallway. Be more specific. Where? Near the bathrooms or? On the way to reception. On your way out today, look for that AED unit. They're in more and more places. They're in all public schools, and all coaches have to be trained. I met a young man at a blood drive once about my age who graduated from high school with a young man who was killed in college or just in high school from a baseball to his chest. And his parents, after he died some decades ago, lobbied across the state, making sure that all schools would have AED units available for any sports. The sporting events that typically result in these kinds of injuries is not football. That was unusual, but it hit just the wrong right way. It's typically hockey pucks, baseballs, and lacrosse balls that hit hard and fast right at the wrong time on young people. And so folks have been doing this training down to age 10. Grab an AED first, because the AED unit will guide you. But if you're in your home, you probably don't have an AED unit, but they're more and more places all the time. And there's a lot of grant money to get them in libraries, at the public schools, at the fire halls. Next time you're out at a public building, pay attention to where those are on the wall. It may save your life or others someday. You just can assist. Maybe not your own, I suppose, obviously. So that was a great question. AEDs is a whole separate training, and we're already at the green light. But any questions anybody can think of from the room or on Zoom? And if you're on Zoom, just speak up. Don't just raise your hand, because the way the layout is, I may not be able to see that you have a question. All right. I don't see any hands up, and we're at the green light. So email me. You know how to reach me. Call me, text me if you have questions. I'd love to give the presentation more and give me advice. I know that was on breakneck speed, but it's a good taste for a longer session that I'd love to give. Len.
Kate, did you talk about the Good Samaritan law?
The Good Samaritan law, Len asked, is a good question. I don't have the full details on it, but I know that the idea would be that you can assist someone, and even if you hurt them, that would protect you. Even if you think, oh, I broke their ribs, well, that protects you. Do you know further a little bit more about that?
I think it just won't be harmless if they try to help.
To hold those harmless, right? Even if they don't make it, that the family doesn't sue you because you tried to intervene. It wasn't your fault. So that's a very good point. And part of the reason people keep their hands off of things. They don't, I don't help. I'm not going to help. Doesn't matter. Maybe I called 911. That's enough. Or not even that. So definitely be involved. And you're the type of folks in this club I know who would step up. But it still can be fearful. Like, I don't know who that is, or I'm not sure what that is. And I don't know what's the situation. But there are laws in place to protect us, because sadly it's gone the wrong way in the past. All right, we're on the yellow. So I will wrap it up. Thank you all very much for coming to my CPR hands only session. And thanks for the tech advice. I'm sorry I moved your stuff.
Thanks, Katie. Yeah, she moved my cheat sheets. That's not. Actually, they're not cheat sheets. We don't have to memorize everything. We shouldn't have to have the agenda in our head because they are here. Our second speaker, and thank you so much for an informative speech and a hands-on. We don't get that very often. Our second speaker will be Margot Sue Bittner. And evaluating her is Marty. No, I'm going to get this one day when it's all over. Beth Banks will be her evaluator. Start over. Margot Sue will be speaking. Beth Banks will be evaluating her.
We're gonna get this. We're gonna get this. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I do have the honor this morning of evaluating Margot.
She is in the Pathways Presentation Mastery, leading in your volunteer organization. Her speech this morning is a 5 to 7 minute speech. She has chosen the title, We Serve. She did warn me that the requirements here are a little different, but I am quite sure that Margot will be able to very successfully handle a little bit different. Thank you very much. The time is 5 to 7 minutes. Her speech is We Serve, Margot Sir-Bittner.
Okay, Margot, I see you on the camera, ready to rock and roll. All right.
Yep.
Margot
So-
Sue Bittner.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. So today my topic is We Serve. For those unfamiliar with this project, you have to analyze your participation in a public service organization, a volunteer organization. And I thought the speech was supposed to be about how I've improved and what I've learned. No, they want you to speak about the organization. So I know there's a few people out there who, when they heard We Serve, know which organization I'm speaking about, and it's our Lions Club. I am currently our secretary. I've been a member for 20 years and my 3rd year of being secretary. Now, Lions have a motto, We Serve. And when you think about that, most people think of a restaurant. So let me give you the corollary to that. Where there's a need, there's a lion. And the most dramatic example of that to me happened a few years ago. Do you remember the earthquakes in Turkey? And everyone was afraid to go in their homes and homes were collapsing. And there was a field of blue tents for people to live in. And every one of them had a Lions logo on the very, very front. That's how Lions meet needs. Now, that's a global issue. Humanitarianism, that's one of our cores. However, most clubs, whether it's Wilson, if Steve is there today, I don't know if he is, our club, Lockport, Newfane, Alcott, we focus on our own community. What can we do? What actions can we take to make life better? So in 1925, we were asked to be Helen Keller's Knights of the Blind. So one of our actions is to do eye testing for children in elementary schools. For example, we have a little machine that we share with 3 other clubs, and we go in and test the kids. We discovered in Barker this year, we tested 99 kids, 8 students needed glasses. When they took the same machine to the Lockport City schools, in one building, 25% of the kids needed further eye exams. Scary thought. How can kids learn if they can't see? We also take action on other causes, which include diabetes, the main cause of vision problems. And our causes go on from there. We deal with hunger, we deal with childhood cancer. Now, how do we do this? We have to raise money. It's all about the fundraising. Now, Lions is the largest international organization, and all the money that we raise as a club goes into whatever these causes and problems in our area are. When you hear that and you hear Barker, most people say, what? We're the happy club. We're the party club. We do a lot of fun things. Not one of those items that we do, whether it's a party or anything else, comes out of the funds that we donate. Everything comes out from when we get donations, it all goes back into the community. Maybe we've paid for glasses for a child. Maybe we bought a hearing aid for an adult. Perhaps the food pantry needed money, or the Christmas baskets. Everything goes right back into what we're doing. Now, if you want to participate in one of our fundraisers, our main one is chicken barbecues. And on November 5th, the Lockport Lions are buying the chickens from us. They're serving, but we are known for our chicken barbecues. This year, we will do 26 chicken barbecues and do 6,600 birds total. That's a lot of chickens to sell. It's a lot of work to cook those chickens. But what else do we give back to our community? Again, where there's a need, there's a lion. During the pandemic, we bought packets of school supplies for children who couldn't afford it. We made sure that the children were getting lunches. They were serving lunches and having people come and pick them up at the school, or we would help deliver them. The holiday baskets is a big thing this time of year. We work very closely with our food pantry. Barker is one of the poorest communities in the county when you look at welfare rates. So we have to make sure that the people have the food they need year round, but to make the holiday special as well. So what opportunities are there to grow in Lions, which is where the 360 project came in for me. Our club does whatever people bring to us. In Barker, it's a small community. People want to do trunk or treating or trick or treating, but you can't go all over the community. It's very spread out. So we're hosting a trunk or treat. Somebody brought that to us as a project and we took it on. We give opportunities to people who never thought they wanted to be on a board or on an office, and we guide them through it. And when you sponsor a member, your commitment is to be with them for a year and a day. And I have sponsored 14 members in our club, and most of them are still with me more than a year and a day. So Barker Lions has a motto: we take action, we're raising funds, we give to our community, we have opportunities. Yeah, I used my name this time around. So what does Lions stand for? Liberty, integrity, our nation's service. We serve. You want more information? Let me know, because there's a Lions Club that could use you to volunteer and help us out. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Margot. Excuse me. May we have a timers report?
You may, Madam Toastmaster. So Kate, in both sections of her speech, came in on time. She came in at 12 minutes and 56 seconds for the speech, and 3.75 of a minutes for her question and answer. Margot came in at 6 minutes and 3 seconds. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much. Please cast your ballots for one of our speakers, either Kate or Margot. Resiliency is something that we don't necessarily just learn as kids. Some people do. Depends on where you grow up and what your circumstances are. But what are some good ways that we can remain resilient or become resilient? We need support systems. We need people who care about us. We need friends, coworkers, whatever it is. We need those people that are supportive in our community. We need to maintain positive relationships. Sometimes humor. I thought Mr. Humor over here had to cut out early. There you are. You're still here. Mike provided us this morning with some humor, and that helps us to be resilient. If we can laugh off things instead of taking them all internally, and then they start to feel heavy, I can just sometimes laugh it off and let it go. Having confidence in our own strengths and abilities. Sometimes that's hard. We have to work on that sometimes because it's easy to think we're not good enough. We're taught that sometimes as children in schools, at home, wherever. Sometimes we hear that at work. Not good enough, do better. We want more from you for the same pay. But having confidence in ourselves. Are the evaluators ready? Marty, are you ready to share an evaluation on Kate's presentation, or do you need another minute? Looks like you're ready.
I am ready. I was just voting.
There you go.
Thank you,
Marty
Master.
Johnson.
Masters. My honor and privilege to evaluate Kate Orr this morning. And I will say that Kate is definitely a resilient person because, as many of you know, she recovered well from a reaction to an insect bite this past year when she was on an outing. Now, we're glad to have you back to health, Kate. Kate, in your speech this morning, you excelled at a number of things. You got her attention right away. You told us what your title was, what your speech was going to be about. And then you told us, actually, you said 2 words. You said Lamar Hamlin. And right away, we all knew where you were going because you had to be living under a rock if you didn't hear the Lamar Hamlin story last year for the Bills when he had the incident on the field that drew national attention. The technique of CPR, you related that to a song, Staying Alive. I never heard that analogy, but I think it's great that you did that. It was wonderful. You had good eye contact. Vocal variety was great also. You had a prop that was wonderful. And obviously I'm not there in person, but I know that you said that you had props at each table. So you drew the audience in, they were able to participate. And you made me feel comfortable enough to give CPR and knowledgeable. It's probably been close to 40 years since I actually maybe not 40, probably about 30 since I first learned it in Boy Scouts. And then for a life-saving class, I had to take CPR also. So you reminded us of the technique and you made us knowledgeable. You empowered us to give CPR. And during the question and answer, you had a question and then you asked if there were more questions. You managed your time well. A couple things to work on. I felt that your speech rate and enthusiasm was great for the majority of the speech. I did hear you increase your rate of speech when you were talking and showing the technique. And I would like to hear and see you slow down while you're showing the technique. And I feel that if you slow down when you're showing the technique, that maybe help people that are maybe resistant or nervous, maybe make them feel more comfortable with your rate of speech at that point. And then a second point, something to work on, I would say, try to resist yourself correcting yourself. I know once you mentioned that while you were showing the technique, you were away from the lectern and you said, I wish I would have had. Try to keep your talk positive talk, and we all make mistakes, no problem. Just try to resist correcting yourself. And then last but not least, someone had mentioned about the Good Samaritan law, and you mentioned that you didn't know, if I remember correctly and what I heard, that you didn't know exactly what it was, but you gave us your understanding of it. And perhaps you could say, although I'm not an expert on that law, if you're not, you could say, I will definitely look into it and be prepared, and I will, for future reference, I'll have information. I'll have that down pat. Therefore, Kate, to challenge yourself, adjust your speech rate at times during your speech. When you want us to be enthused, you can pick up the pace. And if it's something that we need to learn or feel comfortable about, perhaps slow the pace down. And lastly, if you feel you made a mistake at some point in the speech, just keep on going forward, smile, and resist the urge to mention that you forgot something or made a mistake. Well done, Kate. You accomplished your goal. Your timing was right on. And I look forward to your next project in the innovative planning path. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster Nancy.
Thank you, Marty, but not so quickly, Marty. I know that you've bounced back a lot from different things in your life. What is one thing that you do to keep yourself resilient?
I try to exercise every day, even though I get cardiovascular work at work. I'll never forget the day I heard on WLVL, our favorite local radio station, 1340 AM on the dial, Dr. Ken Curbs, a local chiropractic. Sorry, Dr. Gerald. No, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. I'll say it how it is. I heard Dr. Ken Curbs, a local chiropractic, say, oh, so-and-so is doing this. He's walking at work. He doesn't need to do any other exercise. And Dr. Ken Curbs said, in a nutshell, what his point was, it's better to do, you may walk at work, but you need to do other things because it may not be a consistent pace to keep your heart at a certain level. So those things, be active, not to go crazy and over and above, but I try to, first thing in the morning, I try to do some form of exercise. Lately, I've been jogging, and I love cross-country skiing in the wintertime. So Dave and Mike Licata may have seen me on rollerblades and cross-country ski poles going down Allen Street, trying to get myself in shape and coordinated for cross-country skiing. So those are some of the things I do to be resilient. I try to stay in shape by doing a
Marty,
lot of.
Dave wants to know if you went by his street yesterday.
Pardon me?
Dave wants to know if you went down his street yesterday.
Yesterday, I think it was Tuesday.
Thanks, Marty.
All right, thank you.
Our second evaluator is Beth Banks, who evaluated Margot Sue's speech this morning. Beth, how do you think that Miss Margot did, and how can she improve?
Thank you. Oh, good morning, Margot. You did something so well. Your hand gestures. I can't believe the amount of information, the details you gave us in a little over 5 minutes. It was wonderful. Everything from Helen Keller wanting to do the Nights of the Blind, 26 chicken barbecues. That was very, very good information. So you certainly followed some of the goals. Your speech was supposed to be humorous or informational or any style you chose. Well, it was very obvious you chose informational. It was very nicely done. One thing I would like you to work on are props. You did hand gestures that were really good, but I didn't see any props that you could use just to tell us a little bit more about lions. I'm pretty sure that I evaluated you the last time you spoke. And one of the things that I asked you to work on was not looking up too much, because I'm not sure what you're looking at when you're looking up. And you really fixed that for this speech. You looked at us. Nice job. One of the things that it did say in the notes for the evaluator is for you to develop a succession plan. That's difficult. Challenge yourself. And I do know a little birdie told me that your husband and sons are working on the succession plan. It's difficult. If you work on that, could we talk? I would like some advice on how do you successfully work on a succession plan? I would appreciate some advice from you. Thank you very much, Margot. I very much enjoyed your speech. And I will have to get one of those, how many hundreds of chicken barbecues from you again. Thank you.
Stay up here for a moment and tell us one way that you stay resilient. Try.
I try. I feel this past year that I haven't been as successful as I would like to be. I do know that you guys all know, yes, I run the Celtic Festival. I have not felt very resilient in running that this year. A number of things happened. Yes, I survived. I guess I look at resiliency as doing more than just surviving. So I feel that I really need to work on that more. There were definitely some problems this year that maybe not everyone knows about. Obviously, the first problem was the week of setup, Mike breaking his leg. Yes, ankle. That wasn't so good. But we also had our major Saturday night band cancel on the next day, on Wednesday before the festival. So that was interesting. Most people do not know a cousin of mine had cancer surgery on the Thursday. And then on Friday, the executive director of CCE gave me a hard time about not having the certificate of insurance done correctly, which he had had for 3.5 weeks. And it was correct according to our insurance agent.
Testing your resilience.
No, yes, I was tested. Yes, I was tested. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Beth. And Joe Budnick, you've been listening to everything. I would like you to come up and, as general evaluator, call on our reports and give an evaluation of our 2 evaluators. A timer's report first. So sorry.
That works. Marty, you tested my arm strength. You came in at 5 minutes. And Beth, you were at 2.5 minutes. So only Beth qualified as the evaluators.
So you can cast your ballot, or you can just assume that Len has taken care of it. Joe Budnick.
Thank you. Wonderful meeting today. Wonderful topic. And both of our evaluators did a fantastic job. They both used the sandwich approach, of course, which is a smart thing to do. Starting off on a positive note, giving examples of how, improvement, and then ending on a positive note too. For 2 wonderful speeches, Katie, because obviously the topic is invaluable, life-saving, obviously. And Margot, the wonderful work that the Lions Club does also. So resiliency is a wonderful topic. Everyone gave examples of being resilient, and it was a really good meeting. And I hope everyone continues to be resilient in their life. So I'd like to ask our, quiz master, David. Do you have some quizzes for us today?
Thank you so much, Beth, for reminding me about my dad and his uncles and how they handle succession. Oh, well. Now, question number 1. Michael, my boy Mikey, sees the doctor again in how many weeks? Very good.
6.
Jackie said during table topics, she said, you must learn from your. Very good. Oh, Nance. Somewhere along the line with that silly putty thing, I think the second guy tried to use it as a wallpaper remover. And that's, you forgot part of the story because naturally I have had full of worthless information and I noticed that right off. Okay. Kate's final C is what? Impression, thank you. All right, now, who put the Lions, the International Lions Club on task to help the blind? And I should add that the Barker Lions Club has so much chicken. They're presently negotiating with Warner Brothers to use Foghorn Leghorn as a mascot. Thank you so much, Mr. General Evaluator.
I remember when I was a kid, we'd have fun with silly putty. Like I'm working at Anna Merritt Elementary School now, and the kids in our class, we don't give them silly putty, we give them Play-Doh. The Play-Doh is not very resilient at the hands of these children. The Play-Doh has like a weak life expectancy. It's ridiculous. You think Play-Doh is indestructible. It's not in the hands of these kids in this class. It's like 1 week and that's it. It's like they combine all of the Play-Doh together. So, you know, different color Play-Doh and it's an ugly brown color and then it gets hard like cement. It's disgusting. I don't know what these kids do, but that Play-Doh does not last in that class at all. So I would like to call up our combination word master, master, and grammarian, Mark Campos. Is he online? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters. Fellow Toastmasters, this is the first time since we've mashed up these roles that I have served as Wagmaster, and I have to say, it is really hard. It's challenging. And despite the fact that I have all of this that I need to go through, I think some of you may have gotten away with some stuff, dare I say it. Let's talk about ahs and ums. Nancy Ferry, 4. Phil, 1. Tracy, you had a so, but don't worry about it. I had one as well. David Licata had 1. Anne Marie, 1. And 3 so's. I was tuned into the so's today. David Jones, 2. Marty, you had more than 5. I have to point out, though, your ahs and ums are very soft. You almost get away with them before your voice amplifies again. Nice try. Kate, more than 5. You had multiple restarts. Understandable. A lot going on during your speech. Beth, 4. And you had some restarts. Joe, you had 2 you knows and 4 so's. You know is a filler word, you know. All right, grammarian wise, we had a real problem dropping G's today. I'm sure you'll pick up on this recurring theme. Nancy, getting, gonna. Phil, gonna. Mike Florio, lotta, gotta. David Licata, gonna. Anne Marie, I liked elasticity. You had gonna. Michael Licata, gonna. David Jones, your Southerner came out today. You had 2 messin, and then you had 2 somethings. You know, S-U, I just didn't, you know. Something, S-U-M-T-I-N. I guess that's a word, means something, correct? 2 of them. Jackie, got a bicycle? I would say received a bicycle. And Jackie, just as an aside, you may be a mean mom to your children, but you're a wonderful mom to your Toastmasters children, and we appreciate you. Kate, you had more than 5 gonnas, but other times you were conscious about having those G's there. It was just a little inconsistent. Margot, I liked corollary. Beth, you had a gonna. Joe, you had, it's like the word of the day, lastly, as is normally the case, we ran out of steam after table topics. But prior to table topics, it seemed like anyone that used the word used it multiple times. Nancy, Joe, Phil, Mike Florio, Tracy all used it. Then we had a late rally with Marty and Beth Banks using the word. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you. So would our Toastmaster like to hand out awards? Would we like to do that now? Wonderful. We actually have ribbons. Wow. I like it.
First ribbon? That was your first ribbon. Yay. Awesomeness. All right. Drum roll for table topics. You want to announce and I'll hold?
Table topics is, oh, Mike Licata. Very good. Good job, Mike.
Here's your ribbon, Mike. All right. And
Best-
our best speaker.
Beth Banks.
No. Okay, that would be evaluator.
Oh,
We are not gonna get this right today. It's not just me.
we're trying.
Resilient. So best evaluator, right, Beth Banks. You wanna come get your ribbon?
Beth was my teacher in school. She's very resilient, trust me. And our best speaker today is Katie Orr.
Already knew that one.
Yeah. Sure, absolutely.
Sure, there's 1,000 tickets here, so.
Oh, I wish there were. All right, last three digits, 889. Who is 889?
Oh, it's mine. Just put it back in.
Congratulations.
Well, because I didn't know, I didn't have it rigged or anything. Thank you, Joe. Are there any announcements?
I do.
Please, Eric, go ahead.
If anybody checked the schedule next week, does anybody know if, get hold of Steve?
I have those. It's Steve Smith is the Toastmaster next week. Speakers, we have Gerald Stevens, Marty Johnson, and Nancy Ferry. And evaluators, Tracy, Mike Florio, and David Jones.
Okay, great. Yeah, they've been kind of. Any other announcements? Oh, that's right.
Has anyone heard from Thomas Heldwine? I haven't seen him in quite a while, and he did not pay for this quarter. So I don't know what's happening with him. I didn't know if anyone had talked to him.
Beth, it's Marty Johnson. I'll reach out to Thomas.
Okay, thanks, Marty.
Welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else? Doesn't matter to me.
We're good. All right, it's 8:23. I promise we won't go over. 1 week from today is Dave Licata's 75th birthday. What? He's just said. So we will be doing breakfast. Don't listen to that, Mark Campos. We will be doing breakfast after our meeting next Thursday for anyone available to celebrate. Plus, we're looking at the following Friday night. We talked about this at breakfast last week, maybe doing the Casablanca trivia movie night at the Screening Room Cafe at the cinema in the Boulevard Mall as a gathering activity. So I will email you about that once we confirm if anyone's interested in going to see Casablanca on a big screen with a trivia night to follow. Kind of fun. Play it, Sam. That is all I have. I'll put those all in email. Thank you so much. And Nancy will close the meeting.
Anybody on Zoom that had an announcement? Okay, meeting is adjourned 5 minutes early. You have 5 minutes to spare.